Brilliant. So thanks for being here. There might be a few other people that shows up, but in the meantime, we'll just start working our way through this. So if you've not used Discord before, I'm going to share my screen in a moment. And what that will do is it will show up if you, the top right-hand corner of the video channel, you should see like an icon with a square and then two small squares. If you click on that, you get the option of either seeing one person in the very center of the screen, or you get to see everyone. So it changes the focus of Discord. Has everyone found that? Not sure where it is on mobile, Innovator, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's kind of the same on the phone. You see all the small squares, and then when you click you double click on one, then it makes bigger, and if you double click again, it makes small again, and you see everyone.
Thanks, Septi. So what will happen when I share my screen is that you'll get another screen will come up you to click on. You have to view it. So when we share screens on Discord, it doesn't automatically show up. So if I share my screen now, you should now see there's a new addition to the grid. And if you click on that, you'll be able to see what I'm sharing. And I've got a Google document up with the TEC agreements at the top. I can't see you very well when I'm screen sharing, so if you've got any problems, if you can't find it, or please unmute and just speak up with me. Okay, I'll sort of assume that everyone can see it, but if you can't, say please just unmute and we'll show you how to do that. So this is the task. What I've done here in the document is I've linked through to our different to the different places that we need to link through to. So the task that we're doing is about reflecting on the current TEC agreements, which are in our handbook. So I've put the link to the handbook there, and that brings up the agreements. Scroll down to near the bottom of the handbook. And you'll see under number 7 that there's the TEC boundaries and agreements. And there's some explanation there of why we need agreements. So our task is to go through each of these agreements down here. So there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Read through them and just see if we think there's any changes or updates that need to be added. Going back to the document, the guidance from Liv about the task was that the TEC had a collective process to come up with the agreements. They followed Ostrom's suggestions to frame it into the following 2 questions. Is this required or is this forbidden? And anything that's not required or forbidden is allowed. So I've linked up here. You click on here, you'll get, oh, it probably just takes you back to the handbook, but under cultural build, and I'll amend that in the document so I can share it with you afterwards, is Ostrom's 8 principles and a short explanation of what that principle is and how it applies here to the TEC. So our, what I thought we'd do today is I've made some questions that I want us to go through. And then it's just to kind of agree, like, what's the process we want to follow? How do we want to work on this as a team? So the first question is, do we understand the task? The second is, what's the process that we're going to follow as a team? The third one is what is our end goal? I think we need to clarify that. What's our perceived timescales? Like, how long do we think we need to take for this task? And does everyone have access to the tools that they're needed? So For example, I'll make sure that this document is fully shareable to anyone with this link, and then I'll share that in our, well, I was going to share it in our private message, but Zepti, if you also want to see that, I can include you as well.
Yeah, that'd be
So
cool.
how does that, yeah, cool. So how does that sound, sort of everyone?
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's good for me too.
Yeah. If we start with the first one, is do we understand the task? Is there anyone that has any concerns about what the task is? Perfect. That's good. If you have any questions afterwards, do just message me, and we'll work on that together. The next question is, what's the process we're going to follow? And I guess the first thing then would be, what's our end goal? So once we know our end goal, then we can decide on the process that we're going to follow. So having reflected on it, my understanding is that I know that Livia mentioned that she'd love to have this entered into the community covenant in the forum, and I've put the link to that community covenant post here so that you can see it and read it. But basically what Liv has done is proposed this community government, which will be entered into a smart contract, and it will basically act as the point of reference if anyone has any disputes about any proposals that are being made. So this is it's very extensive, as you can see, and the covenant goes into many details about how we interact together and how we enforce our boundaries, and you can have a look at that in your own time. So she did mention that she'd love if these would be done by the end of next week if possible, but I've said, you know, it might take us a few weeks since many of us are new here and kind of navigating around the tools for the first time. But my sense is that the end goal is to have gathered in one document any adjustments we need, probably copy and pasting over each of the agreements, make comments on the document about any changes we think we need, and then check them in with each of the stewards that we think relate to that agreement, so that we can make sure that we're all on the same page and get that submitted to Liv. So I think the end goal is to have a submission to Livia of our suggested changes that we've run by the different stewards as a check. Does anyone have any sort of different thoughts on what would be a successful end goal for this task?
What is not clear to me is like the process. Like we are going to work all together on each agreement section, or we are just splitting the work and then we sync together, or yeah, what's the process?
We haven't, that's still to be decided. Yeah.
Okay.
So we get to decide that during this meeting. It's like, how do we want to do that? Do we want to work in pairs and take on 2 or 3 of the agreements each? Do we want to just have them as the whole team is working on them? It's really down to us how we organize ourselves. So it's down to you as team members, like what's your availability? What do you think would be the most successful way for you to work? My gut feeling is that since that many of us are new to the TEC, it might be easier to work in pairs, so that we've got someone to talk through our ideas with and sort of split up the agreements, but it's really up to what the team feels. I'll stop sharing for just a minute. So maybe if we go around, innovator, what's your kind of gut feeling, having talked that through about way forward and goal?
Yeah, sure. It seems fairly straightforward. You know, as you say, there are different ways of slicing the cake. So, you know, I think I'm quite comfortable with it. I mean, you've talked about the agreement process, so that was one of the questions I would have had, but you've answered it. So I think I'm okay for the moment. I mean, and you've also said if we've got any questions, we can ask you afterwards. So that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. Thiago.
Yeah, for me it's fine. I think it's better for me to work with someone because I'm new here and I'm trying to understand, and I was a bit lost in the process because there are a lot of channels and conversations, and I was looking for an opportunity like this. And I think for me it's better if I work with someone, but if the group chooses to work alone, and I can observe and try to help where I can.
Sure. Brilliant. And Metodo, how does it sound to you?
Yeah, it's good, but you said that the deadline we could finish next week, or?
So Livia had asked us, do we think it would be possible to have this complete by next week, by the end of next week? Because she would like to have this added to the covenant that's in the forum. And I think her hope is that gets shared or passed on to the next stage, which is to have a complete covenant that we're asking the community to vote on as a proposal. So her request was, do we think we could have it done by the end of next week? But I want to make sure that, as this is your first task for many of you, that you don't feel like that's too much pressure for you, because I imagine that this might be the first time that you're reading some of the agreements. It might be the first time that you're reaching out to stewards and making contact with them. It might even be the first time that you're familiar with the Ostrom's principles or understanding like how we apply that here at the TEC. So what I said to Livia is, that I'd talk with you about timescales, but my sense is that it could, I would rather that we take a little bit longer, make sure that everyone here is comfortable. And I don't know what your availability looks like. You might all have roles that you're doing in your life and lots of things happening. So it's really down to you. That's what this meeting about, is to hear what your availability is, your concerns about completion.
Yeah, I was thinking that on the one hand, for me personally, it would be good to review all of the agreements so that I learn more. Then on the other hand, if we have to finish at some point, it might be better split.
Okay. Well, what if Zepti, sorry, what your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, since we are in pair, I wouldn't mind to work alone, and I could pick two. And I have personal interest in advice process, since I'm already working on how to improve advice process. So I can have some background on the advice process, and I could pick one more, I think, for next week. But I don't have any preferences.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's great. Well, what if then? Zepti, what if I copy over all the agreements to the document so that we have them in this one Google document, which means that anyone that wants to read through them all can, I mean, you could read through them on the handbook, but if you'd like to jump into all of them, that gives you the opportunity to do so. But maybe we work in pairs. There's 4 of us besides Zepti, so we could split up into pairs, and I can just still kind of be there as a point of contact overall. We could split the other agreements. So get back to, I'll share my screen again. You're going to take advised process. Is there any other there that you just kind of want to grab now?
I mean, Discord seems fine.
Discord, okay. Great.
Anna-Marie,
Yes.
sorry to ask. You've talked about two documents, the handbook and the community covenant. Do we need to understand those so that we've got some context for these agreements?
I mean, no, I mean, the handbook, well, as in, I mean, I can share. So the handbook is our main point of contact or our main point of reference. That's the place that we share all the information about the TEC. So if you want to know any information about like why we do what we do, what our mission, visions and values are, how to get involved, what the different roles are, information about the hatch, which we've just completed, the first hatch, and understanding about the working groups and voting. So this handbook is where we share all that information as a point of reference. The forum that the community covenant is on is the place that we go to make governance decisions, to have our kind of more in-depth discussions about the TEC, the systems and structures, to share new ideas about work that we'd like to work on. It's also where we submit proposals to the community for the community to vote on. So I have put the links in the document. So when I share this Google document with you, you'll find the link to the handbook at the top, and then in the middle is the link to the forum. It would mean that you would have to have access to the forum, so you would need to sign up for that. Let's say you've got the link there, so when you sign up for the first time, if you have any issues, you can come back to me.
Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, diving back into the actual agreements. So that leaves 9 agreements. Does anyone, looking at the subjects, has anyone got any preferences at this point? I can run through them very quickly about what each one is. So the first agreement is around the hatch. So we've just launched our, I guess we've hatched recently, which is where external funding, anyone that was a trusted seed could donate to the TEC and they get TECH tokens in return. And that was the first phase of our hatch. The second phase of our hatch is going to be coming up where we vote, or I'd say maybe we're in the second phase at the moment. That's where we decide the specifics of the hatch. So it's about what value do we set our token at? What are the different parameters that we as a community launch the token in? So it is, this first bit might be fairly complex if you don't have kind of a general understanding of what the hatch is. So if no one here feels confident in that, I'd very happily take that on myself. But if someone here was particularly interested and had that kind of background, then that might be a good one to jump into. Gravity is our conflict support working group. So Gravity and the Gravitons, as they're called, a working group that addresses and mediates any kind of conflicts, and also works to ensure that the community is pulled together. So that's a really lovely one to work on. I'll skip advice process. forum voting. So there's 3 different types of agreements we have around forum. This could be incredibly interesting if you're someone that is interested in decision making and voting protocols, because you could probably learn quite a bit from looking through these agreements. You might need to do a little bit of research bouncing from them to understand what the agreement is talking about, but it's the different types of voting. So the forum voting is what we use the forum for. Conviction voting is another type of possibility that we might be hatching through, is including conviction voting. And again, that's something that you might need to do a little bit of research in on what conviction voting is. But it basically allows anyone to support one or more proposal at any one time. So it's an alternative to the yes/no type of voting. It's very fascinating. And disputable voting is where you can make changes to the actual smart contract themselves, I believe. So again, these 3 voting ones are fairly technical, and they'd probably be of interest to you to do if you're someone that's interested in token engineering itself or has somewhat of a tech background. SourceCred is the tool that we use to measure and reward, or is going to be one of the ways that we move forward to use, measure and reward the contributions that volunteers like yourself currently give. And as you can see, that's a very short one, so there's not a huge amount of work to do on that. Praise is where we're using the praise system. You might know it already. You've hopefully received praise already, or if you haven't, you certainly will be receiving praise for coming to this meeting and being part of this team. So again, that's probably quite a light one to do. Github is the tool that we use. There's a link here. Github is the tool that we use to project manage all the different tasks that are going on. And the forum, as I said, is where we kind of engage in our governance and deeper discussions. Does anyone have any questions about any of those subject areas? No? Okay. Well, do you know what? I think probably oh, jump in. Did you say, was it not yet? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yes, it was not yet.
Not
No
yet.
question.
Perfect. Okay. So having looked through, I can share the screen, and maybe we could just share any of those that was a particularly interesting us, and we'll work out what to do with the rest. And really, we could. I please take on as many as you feel comfortable doing, and if there's any left over, then I'll do those. So maybe we could just go around again and share. Todo, would you like to start? Maybe share what ones you might be interested in.
Did you ask me?
Yeah.
I'm fine. Like I don't have any. All of them are.
Do you have any preference?
No. One question: did we agree to work individually or in pairs?
It's up to you. So Zepti is going to work on his own. My suggestion was that the rest of us work in pairs, but if you'd like to work individually, you're welcome to.
Okay.
What would you like to do?
It would be nice to work with someone else, but if I work in this agreement alone.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we'll make sure that you're paired up, and you haven't got any preference on what you work on, so that's great. Want to just go around and jump in and share any preferences?
Personally, I'm fascinated with all of it. So
Okay.
I'm interested just to read to see, you know, A, what's already happened, and B, if there's anything I can make a contribution on.
Okay, great. Thiago, anything there fascinates you?
Yeah, for me, I'm like innovator, the same. I'm fascinated. I want to read them all and see if there is anything I can be of assistance.
Perfect. Well, I'll tell you what, I will copy them all over after the meeting. I'll just assign us in pairs to work on them. But you're welcome to jump in and out, have a look through them all. If there's anything that you see or add to any of the others, then feel free to do that, because I'm sure that will just improve it for all of us. If we split that up into pairs so that each pair takes ownership of a specific set of agreements, and then Septimus, you're going to work on your own on the advice process in Discord. And if we could let's try then for next Friday, so a week from today, as having, you know, if we can by then have added our suggestions, contacted the stewards, and I can help with who that might be if you don't know who would be the right steward for which agreement, and to get them complete by next Friday. Does that sound thumbs up?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Great. Well, that was wonderfully easy. Thank you very much. Is there any questions before we head off?
I just would like to get the link of the document you guys are working on.
Yes. Yeah, I'll share that with you.
Okay, thank you.
Anna Marie, I just want to do a kind of head count. I think we went through about 8 sections with agreements. Was that about right for a numeric figure?
We're 9, and then Zepti was doing 2.
Okay.
I'll just share them according to kind of size. One pair will do 5, one pair will do 4.
Okay.
Okay. Is it Zerb? Hello.
Hello.
Are you joining for the TEC Agreements meeting?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're trying to speak, we can't hear you at the moment.
Oh, can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah, I was hearing you the whole time, Zero.
Ah, okay. I just hopped in to see what's going on.
Do you hear him now, Anna Marie?
No. Can you
Maybe-
hear him? Can everyone else hear him?
I do hear him.
Oh. I don't know why I can't then. That's very strange.
Can you right click on his name? Maybe for some reason the volume is low. Sometimes happens.
No,
with
it's
those.
at 100%.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I mean, I could drop out and come in, but I'm not sure if that will
It's no problem.
connect everyone. But I guess not. I could drop out and come back in and see if that. If it messes everything up, then we know what we're doing. Steps ahead, and I'll share the document link. But I'll try and disconnect and come back in. You all still here? Do you want to try again? If that's sorted now.
Yes, we're here. Can you hear me?
Can
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah, I hear you all.
Is it Zerb or 08? I'm not sure how to say your handle, but do you want to speak and see if I can hear you now?
Hello, hello.
Oh, I can hear you.
Oh,
Just-
awesome.
Hi, are you joining for the TEC Agreements meeting?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've just finished because it started like 40 minutes ago. But if you want to stay on, and I can talk you through it.
Okay.